Tanay, Bhavaj, Tanay, please can you start?
Yes, miss. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to communicate with my team members. Um,
Sure.
it'll just take a minute or so. Very
Yeah.
sorry.
No.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I missed my cue. So, hello everyone. I'm Raghav, and these are my teammates, Panav, Tanay, Bhavat, and Dev.
I am.
And we are going, yeah. So, you want to introduce yourselves, maybe?
Okay, sure. So I'll start off. My name is Tanay Agarwal. I'm very excited to speak to you all today. We have created a presentation about the gig economy, and we hope the information we have made for you all is going to be helpful um, for you in some financial aspects of your life. Um,
We've
yes.
combined information that will directly help y'all make y'all financially stable, probably make it better for y'all to earn in the future. Precisely. So please pay attention and learn from this and try to inculcate this in your real life because it will really benefit you. आपको बहुत काम आएगा जो आज करने वाला हूँ.
Okay, yeah. So, what exactly is the gig economy? So, some of you may know what it is, while some of you may not. So, next. Yeah. So, how many of you know someone who drives, delivers, teaches online, designs logos, sells online? Is that a job or a business? Do you think that they earn a fixed income? And so, can you please write in the chat box who you know and what they do as their work?
Excuse me, can you please
Yeah.
repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, so how many of you know someone who drives cars, delivers, or teaches online, or designs logos, or sells stuff online, or maybe even makes posters? So if you know someone, you can write that, like suppose they are my aunt and they do this. Yes, so they don't have a fixed income. Yes, I agree. Okay, your friend designs logos and makes posters. Okay, so moving on. So, the gig economy is exactly those people who earn money by doing these variable and flexible tasks in place of instead of doing like stable and permanent jobs, like suppose in an office. These people can be people who drive, deliver, teach online, etc. Like as you guys just said. So these jobs are very flexible in terms of the money earned, time spent, and the type of task that you're doing. So suppose if you are driving, it depends on the number of cars you drive. Makes your income. Otherwise, if you drive less cars, then you'll get less money in that day. So that's why it's very flexible. Yeah. So some skills that are required for gig workers are most importantly communication, time management, and problem solving. Other skills which you can see are dependent on what work you're doing. Communication and time management is required for any gig worker as they need to be efficiently able to market their product or service, attract customers, and sell their product or service. And time management is required to make this in the least amount of time possible so they earn the most money. How and moreover, problem solving skills are required as problems can appear out of nowhere. And if a gig worker lacks problem solving skills, they will immediately be in danger of losing their income as it is a variable income. So suppose if your like suppose we take the same travel example, and then if we say that your car breaks down, if your car doesn't work one day, then how do you solve that? So essentially you would try to maybe fix it by yourself or see what is going on, or you will take it to someone else who knows to fix it. So that's why problem solving skills are required. So this is a basic problem. A much more advanced problem can make very big long term effects and impact your life. And the other skills such as driving, teaching, designing can vary from person to person depending on what they do as their capable. Yeah, and this is the main importance of our presentation. Why is this awareness of the gig economy important? Why should people know about it? In this new world age where the nature of jobs are changing rapidly, there are more people being added to the gig economy. People may now prefer working from home using their mobile phones and the internet or doing short and simple tasks which require less skill to earn money for a living. Many people may not know that they are part of this gig economy. Some people might think that they have a stable income and they are not part of this gig economy, but it is not just that. There are many factors behind it which determine if it is a gig work or just a stable job. So some people may believe and agree with the statement which you see. Gig work is not just earning today, it is about building a future where, and these people may be agreeing that you are better adapting to the future. You may be learning technological tools which is helpful for you. However, some people may not agree with this. So let's see why gig work may be considered good and bad. So firstly, gig work is very flexible. It is up to you whether you want to work that day or not, or if you want to, if you want money, you can work a lot one day and then the next day you cannot. You may not. Then it is also easy to enter the gig economy. Anyone can just join an open platform, become a gig worker, and start the gig work, earning money almost immediately. Thirdly, you can also work multiple gig works at the same time simultaneously or do it alongside a stable job to earn more money. So this increases your financial income, and even if one gig work may fail or face a problem, you still have other source of income. The gig work can be added alongside your stable jobs, or can be combined with other gig works as well. A driver can drop, and then you are also, and then you can also work from almost anywhere, and you're not required to be at a specific place to work. A driver can drop someone at a destination and immediately pick someone else up from the same place. The driver is not required to go back to the pickup point to work and earn money. Meanwhile, while you do gig work, you can also gain valuable knowledge and skills which can help you adapt to the world, among which one of the most important and primary skills which you learn is self-reliance. For example, a poster designer, which is a gig worker, may learn of more advanced tools and designs while making more posters and more being for more time in the field learning along the way, using the skills to support themselves, not relying on someone else, hence encouraging self-reliance as well. Yeah, so however, gig work is not always good to do. Most importantly, you will have a very unpredictable income. Though you may think that you are earning a fixed and stable income through such jobs, they may actually have very unpredictable income outcomes in the future and can be affected suddenly by any factor without any warning. So, though this may be positive at times, though this may like affect you positively, like it may suddenly go up and you might be suddenly earning a lot. It has a concerningly very high risk, and if you are only dependent on your gig work as your primary source of income. There can also be payment disputes between your customers and you, as you are directly dealing with the customer. You are directly going to them delivering stuff, or you're directly picking them up and then demanding money accordingly, or you are selling stuff online, so you have to negotiate the prices. Or maybe sometimes the customer may refuse to give you your money. So this can lead to many payment disputes, which can cause problems for you. For example, in the case of a stable office job, you're not dealing directly with the customer, so you have a stable and certain flow of income as opposed to the gig work like designing posters. You may also have a very limited legal support and protection and very high administrative workload as you work alone. These administrative workloads can include accounting workloads, like you have you have to count how much money you earn, how much money you spend to uh, support your expenses and your life. We'll see that later, and and yeah, and then it can also cause out-of-pocket expenses where you will have to you will have to pay independently for the stuff you own, which you are using in the gig work. For example, a driver may have to pay for his own car maintenance, and delivery person may have to pay for his bike if they break down or if any issues happen. And then lastly, there's also very high competition. So as there are no barriers of entry, as anyone can just open a platform and enter into gig economy, there will also be a lot of people who do the gig work who will do the same task as you. So this will increase the competition to your product and skills. For example, if you sell things online, there are more than 1,000 more people selling on the same platform, the same thing. So if you are maybe designing posters, then there are like 1,000 or 2,000 or millions of people who are also designing posters and selling them online around the world. So you may not even be noticed among these thousands of gig workers, or you may be forced to sell at lower prices, or increase your marketing expenses to support your gig work, which also again increases your out-of-pocket expenses and makes your income unpredictable as it depends on the customers you get. So now over to Banu.
Yeah, so as Raghav explained very nicely, how gig workers, who they are, what they do, as well as what are their advantages, disadvantages, the skill that they require. So the disadvantages that Raghav mentioned were actually quite real in today's time even. Uh, I think many of you may have also seen how gig workers are going out on strikes because of um, unstable income, no legal requirements, and there are a lot of disadvantages of being a gig worker in today's time. And most gig workers cannot have their ends meet at a day-to-day basis. So at this time, the most feasible thing one can do is start their own enterprise or become an entrepreneur. That way you can have a stable income, you can do what you are passionate about as well as that, and you can also start your own business and be independent. So before I explain how you can convert into a business owner, I think we should watch a small video first about what exactly is an entrepreneur. So Tanay, if you could.
What exactly is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person with an idea for a product or service. They decide to start a business which brings this idea to life. Maybe they've always dreamed of opening their own boutique. Or maybe they want to create an app which millions of people will use. So the dream of an entrepreneur can be big or small, but most of the successful ones share a number of characteristics. They're passionate, motivated, independent, and creative. Entrepreneurs love thinking outside the box. They're always looking to expand their knowledge, break out of their comfort zone, and find new opportunities in the marketplace. They don't just accept things as they are. They also believe that their ideas have value and that they have something special to bring to the table. So what do you think? Could you be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I hope you guys understood what basically is an entrepreneur. They are someone who are passionate about what they do and they convert that into a real business that is scalable as well as feasible. So Tanya, could you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so let us talk about how to convert yourself into a business owner, as many of you are already working youth and college students. So to convert yourself into a business owner, the first step is foundation and strategy. So before we talk deep into what that means, can you all tell me one of your skills or maybe something you're good at and drop it into the chat box? It can be anything. It can be maybe you're good at communication, maybe you know how to code, maybe you know how to market something, maybe you're good at leadership and handling people, teamwork. It can be anything. Okay, so I see. Okay, Angel is good at jewelry making, and Kushagra is good at connecting with people. Dildar is good at data entry. Great. So what this basically means is before you start your own business, you have to identify one skill you're good at and one problem in your community that can be solved using that skill. Right. For example, one of the skill was jewelry making. For example, in your community there is a lack of jewelry stores and jewelry, uh, there are not a lot of options for jewelry. So maybe Angel can start her own jewelry making business and convert that into a real idea. Right. So um, all these skills that you have to convert that into a real idea by figuring out a problem that already exists in your community. So the first question you ask yourself is, what am I good at, which is your skill, which I can see many of you have already mentioned in the chat box. The next step is actually converting that into a business. So you have to identify a problem in the market slash community, and then you have to identify how do you make that business feasible. So that is who will pay me, how will I do it every day, and that is your basic foundation and strategy. Tani, could you move to the next slide? Yeah. So after you figured out what skills you have, what business can you create, what problem are you solving in the market, you go to step two, where you actually find people who need you in the market, right? So, for example, in the case of jewelry making, you will have to find people who are actually interested in buying jewelry in the area. If there is a lack of jewelers in the area, you'll have to find people who are actually interested in buying it. So you go up to them, you market your product, you market that you make jewelries, and maybe if you can check them out, maybe if you find them good and attractive, you can buy them. Maybe the price is attractive to you. So you basically tell people what you do and you showcase your work to them, right? So in this case, you let people know that you exist and that there's a genuine business out there that is providing a need in the market, right? So then that way you can scale as well as network actively, and then you can market that product into a big business, right? Next slide, please, Tanay. So the third step to making a business is expanding it, right? So after you've made a business of your own, let us take the jewelry example. So in that case, step three would be to earn more without working more. Once you've made a foundation that I have to start a jewelry business and I've already made a store out of it, there are some people that are coming and asking. So there's a genuine need in the market for that. Now you talk about how you can learn new skills and technology that can help you build a work system. So what does that mean is basically, imagine you're opening a jewelry store and you need to communicate to more customers. So how do you do that? You do social media marketing. You try to uh, take pictures of your product and upload them online so other people can see and come to your store and buy that. Now you build a work system out of it. You say that today I will post two pictures of my product and I will grow exponentially like that. And you can create a WhatsApp business account. You can you can use social media. You can go out to people. You can go to fairs, exhibitions to show your products. So that way you can scale without actually doing something on your own. Next slide, please, Sumit. So the fourth but the last step is very important when you're starting your own business, and that is how to handle money smartly. So this includes not cheating your customers, setting fair prices. If you're selling jewelry, you have to uh, identify the price of that jewelry in the market and then set the price according to your demands accordingly, right? With that, you um, manage your own income, your own expenses. Maybe you buy a new jewelry making machine that counts as expenditure of the business. So that way, if you manage your money smartly, you can grow your business very exponentially, right? So that was basically the steps of how you can make your own business. So now I'll let my friends continue.
Thank you, Raghav, for that explanation of entrepreneurship. Um, so now I'll continue on with some financial concepts that are quite essential for gig workers to have a some financial stability. So a lot of people they confuse income and profit. They are making, for example, they're making 1,500 rupees in a day, and they think that's a good amount of money, and it is, right? But they are having these expenses while traveling, while eating, with fuel, and these expenses are slowly chipping away at their daily income. They're making 1,500 rupees in a day, but fuel is costing 200 rupees, food is costing 100 rupees. And a lot of Swiggy and Zomato workers, they're renting their transportation, their e-bikes, from this company called Shadow, which rents them for 300 rupees a day. So what you thought you were making 1,500 rupees a day, you're actually only making 900 rupees a day, which seems like a much smaller amount. And it's really important for you to know that your actual profit, because that profit is what is building your future. The income is not building your future. Those 900 rupees is what you're going to be using for saving, for your retirement, for your wants, for your needs. And so it's really important, what you're walking away with at the end of the day. So gig workers by the government, they're classified as independent contractors, and that means that they don't have access to some of these pension schemes that the government offers. And that means that they don't have that same kind of financial stability that a contract job offers, right? So on a good month, they might be making 30,000 rupees. On a slow month, they might be making 20,000 rupees. And that really messes with a person's sense of financial stability. And that's why it's important for somebody to know financial concepts that help them get a stable source of income, right? So, how can we get this stable sense of income? We have to calculate an average monthly income. On month 1, I'm making 25,000 rupees. On month 2, I'm having a good month. I'm working more. I make 30,000 rupees. On month 3, however, I fall sick one week. I'm not able to work, and because of that I make only 20,000 rupees. And what some people do is they look at one of their months. For example, they look at a month where they're making 30,000 rupees and they say, I'm making more money than I do usually. And that means I can spend more money than I do usually. But then on months where they're doing rougher financially and they have only 20,000 rupees, how do they afford their necessities? How do they afford their rent? How do they afford their phone bill, their groceries? And that's why it's important to look at the average income. For example, in this case, it's 25,000 rupees. And the additional income that you're making from other months, like 30,000 rupees, you save that additional 5,000 rupees and you save it for a month where you're doing slower financially. And this is really important because as a gig worker, like I mentioned before, you're not making the same amount of money every day or even every month. You make the amount of money depending on the number of jobs you do. Okay. And I think this is something that's extremely important for not just gig workers, but for people in general. They know their rent obviously, but they wouldn't know how much their rent, plus their phone bill, plus their internet, plus groceries cost. And they look at the total when they look and they calculate at their total monthly expenses, they go, oh my god, this is so much. But they don't know that sometimes. People don't always calculate this. And so they spend an amount of money that leaves them at the end of the month. They're thinking, how am I going to afford my rent? How am I going to afford my phone bill, my internet? And that's why it's really important to look at what are fixed expenses that you spend every month. Like, for example, your rent. Your rent, it doesn't change every month. It's probably constant for at least a year or 2 years, right? And so it's important to look at your income, your profit, and then set that amount of money aside for the end of the month or for whenever you have to pay it. So you're not out of money um, at that point of time. Also, if you do this, you can avoid getting into situations like financial debt or borrowing money from family members. And that's really a financial pothole, right? And people do not want to get into that. That significantly hinders their financial life. Step 3, give every rupee a job. Divide your income. You're making 30,000 rupees a month. Divide it between your rent, your savings, your transportation, your e-bike that you're renting, the entertainment you're watching, the food you're ordering from somewhere, or you're going out to eat. And it can get like really complicated for some people because they're like, I'm not a math person, right? But it's not that complicated as they think it is. And we can help with a rule called the 50-30-20 rule. And what this rule says is basically 50% of your income should go towards your needs, your rent, your groceries, things you need to survive, essential things. 30% of your income should go towards your wants, entertainment, eating out, buying a new book that you thought was really cool. And 20% of that remaining money should go towards your savings, towards your future, in a fixed deposit, in a SIP, in the bank, somewhere where it's making more money for you or where you're saving it. Um, I think with this 50 30 20 rule, it'll be better if I put on a video and it could kind of help explain how it works.
Making It Work is sponsored by Clean My Mac X. Click the link in our description to download and improve your Mac's performance.
At this point, we all know we should be following a budget. It's the first rule of personal finance. But while it's easy to drill into our minds, it's a little harder to put into practice. Enter the 50-30-20 budget rule. This is a simple, easy to implement rule that leaves you with guaranteed savings at the end of the day, which is precisely why I love and recommend it to so many of my friends. What is the 50-30-20 budget rule? The 50-30-20 budgeting rule has been around for a while, though it was popularized in Senator Elizabeth Warren's book, All You're Worth, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan. This technique breaks down your necessary expenses, leisure expenses, and savings into percentage categories of your salary. So 50% of your salary should go towards necessities. Think rent, or mortgage payments, car payments and gas, or public transportation, necessary groceries, utilities, and debt. Then, 20% of your salary should go towards savings. This includes retirement accounts like a 401k or an IRA, as well as an emergency savings fund or investment accounts. You decide how to divvy up this 20%. If your company offers a 401k match on 5% of your salary, for example, you may put 5% into your retirement account, 5% into an investment account, and another 10% into an emergency savings fund. It's entirely your choice, but 20% must be saved. Note that some experts include debt repayment in the savings portion of this budget, rather than in necessities. Finally, 30% of your salary is for leisure spending. So this is the portion of your grocery bill that would go towards wine, or the part of your salary that you set aside to eat out at restaurants, travel, and buy that $5 latte. Essentially, this 30% of your income is entirely for you.
Okay, so I hope that video helped understand what the 50 30 20 rule is essentially. And this video talked a lot about saving, right? And some of you might be confused, how do I save? What do I save? And my partners will help explain that shortly to you. So I'll hand it off to the next person now.
Yeah, so savings. So why gig workers need higher savings? So they need higher savings because there's no guaranteed monthly salary that if they are sick, they'll still get the money. It depends on how much you work. That's the problem with gig workers. So if you work more, you probably get more salary, but if you don't work, then you won't. So there's no paid leave also. So it's only dependent on how much you work and how often do you work. So if you don't work, you're not gonna get paid. So that's why there's no paid leave as well. There are no employer benefits because gig worker is like a side business, like usually. So that's why there's no employer benefits because there is no single employer. Income is unpredictable because it depends on the demand of the employer of the gig worker. If there's no demand, then the gig worker goes out of play. Seasonal demand drops. Like during, probably I'll take the example of probably Zomato drivers. Some of you might be. So, like during festive seasons or during Saturdays and Sundays, there might be a higher demand for Zomato drivers, but during like weekdays, the demand decreases. So, the amount of money you can earn also decreases. The potential amount of money you can earn decreases. That's why there is no reliable, guaranteed monthly salary that you can get. And inflation affects daily life because the amount of money you earn probably won't increase, but the amount of money you have to spend on normal goods like probably rice or like salt, that may go up. So that's the problem. So savings prevent bad debt and emergency fund is non-negotiable. So savings is very important. Savings in the form of I'll come to it later. Savings is very important. You have to save to have a secured future. Next slide. Yeah. So creating a savings plan. So if you deposit 1,000 rupees for 1 year, how much money will you get by the end? What do you think? Can you all write in the comment in the chat section? Like if you deposit 1,000 rupees probably in an FD, how much will you get back? And 1,000 rupees if you invest in stocks, like on average, how much will you get back? And 1,000 rupees you invest in gold, how much do you think you'll get back? Just write it in the chat box. No one has any idea? Like approximately? So probably if you invest like in a normal FD in a bank account, you'll get 7% of 1,000, which is only like 70 rupees. So by the end of the year, you'll be on 1,070 rupees. But like if you invest in the stock market, yeah, precisely. So if you invest in the stock market, probably you'll get something around like 15%. That so that 1,000 rupees will become 1,150 rupees. And probably if you invest on gold, invest in gold. Like right now, the gold prices are high. So like in the last 1 year, it has increased by 40%. So that will give you a return of you will have 1,400 rupees by the end of 1 year. So, but savings is very important. Your money is increasing, that is important. It's not the same. So if you save, your money is going to increase. It's not going to decrease. Can you move on next slide? Yeah, so probably we'll take this example. If you save 5,000 rupees per year, अगर आप 5,000 रुपए बचाते हो हर महीने तो हम so you can invest 1,000 rupees in gold, 1,000 rupees in निफ्टी 50, ये बॉम्बे स्टॉक ये नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का टॉप 50 लिस्ट का कंपनीज होता है. 1,000 rupees in FD, वो which is bank account, and 3,000 rupees in SIP. So SIP is a systematic investment plan where you earn minimum of 12% every month, and then you have to invest 3,000 rupees every month in that. So 3,000 rupees is a small amount. Gig workers earn probably about 20 to 25,000 rupees. That's why 3,000 rupee SIP would be very valuable to you in the long run. So ये बहुत ज़रूरी है करना. Next slide. So probably so gold gives a return of approximately 8% per year. So if you invest 1,000, so you'll have 1,080. If you invest in Nifty 50, like this is on average, if you invest in Nifty 50, you'll get like something around 12 to 15%. It's not that risky, but obviously it is more riskier than fixed deposit because that 7% you're gonna get 100%. So in FD you get 7%, so that rounds up to 1,070 rupees. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so the risk and savings plan. So if gold prices go up and down due to global events, your value of amount of money you invested in gold will also go up and down. Like usually when the stock market goes down, the gold prices go up. So when unreliability in the stock market increases, that's when gold prices go up. But gold prices are not very reliable. They are very volatile. बहुत ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है, तो बहुत safe नहीं होता. Unlike FDs, gold doesn't also give monthly interest. You only earn if the price increases. FD 100% पक्का आपको 7% every year मिलेगा. तो वो risk free होता है. तो अगर if you invest in FDs, then you will get 7% of जितना भी आप invest करो every year. और फिर वो compound होता रहेगा. And physical gold needs safe storage और locker end. फिर वो और cost add करता है और वो risky भी होता है. Next slide. So why fixed deposit is a good and safe option, because then it's very safe, doesn't depend on market ups and downs. Even if the market's 50% down, you're gonna get your 7% in a fixed deposit. Guaranteed return होता है, and bank tells you exactly how much you'll get before you invest. तो आपके पैसे डालने के पहले ही आपको मालूम पड़ जाएगा कि आपके एंड ऑफ ईयर तक कितना आपके पास होगा. एंड ये बहुत इजी तरीका होता है. इट्स अ वेरी इजी मेथड टू डू दिस. So you don't need to set up any demat account or any stock app needed. You can just go to your bank and open an FD. and then just start putting money. And this is very good for beginners. अगर आपको कुछ नहीं मालूम होता और आप इधर से चालू करते, तो वो आपके लिए बहुत अच्छा पड़ता है. Just a second. Yeah.
Sorry, it seems my internet cut out. Very
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so how fixed deposits work, I like to explain. Like if you give the bank like 10,000 rupees, then they lock it for a time. So एक साल के लिए आपको देना पड़ेगा. एंड फिर उसके ऊपर इंटरेस्ट लगता है. पहले ईयर में 7%, फिर उसके ईयर में जो इंटरेस्ट के साथ है उसके ऊपर 7%. तो वो कंपाउंड होता है. सिंपल इंटरेस्ट नहीं होता, कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट होता है. So if you earn 10,700 in first year, probably in the next year you'll have 12,000 rupees. So the interest gets compounded. So after, yeah, and there are no risks in this. में कोई रिस्क नहीं होता. आपको पक्का ये इतना 700 रुपये अगर आप 10,000 डालते हो तो मिलेगा. Next. Yeah, अभी this is my favorite option, and this probably will give you the most amount of money. तो ये ध्यान से सुनना, आपको बहुत काम आएगा. तो ये होता है सिस्टमैटिक इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान. सो यू हैव टू इन्वेस्ट मनी इन दिस एवरी मंथ. अगर आप हर महीने 3,000 रुपये डालो 30 साल के लिए, तो आप कितना डालोगे? 10,80,000 रुपये डालोगे. पर ये कंपाउंड होता रहेगा और ये 92 लाख रुपीस बन जाएगा 30 साल में. तो आप डालोगे सिर्फ 10,80,000, पर आपको मिलेगा 92,42,000 30 साल में. So this is the power of compounding. If your money gets compounded for 30 years, your money will have the value of 9 times how much you invested. तो आप सिर्फ कमाओगे 10,80,000, पर आपको मिलेगा 92,42,000. सो ये मेरा फेवरेट होता है. पर अगर ये सिर्फ चलेगा अगर आप हर महीने बचा सकते हो और हर महीने इसमें इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो. सो अगर आपके पास आपकी मंथली इनकम गिग वर्किंग से 15 से 20 से 30 हजार है, मतलब बहुत चेंज होता रहता है. मैं समझता हूँ इट चेंजेस वेरी फ्रीक्वेंटली. बट लाइक इफ यू कैन स्टार्ट एन SIP ऑफ 3,000 रुपीज, लाइक एटलीस्ट फॉर लाइक 20 to 30 years अंटिल यू रिटायर. अगर आप अभी 20 साल के हो, तो अब आप 50 साल पे रिटायर करोगे. तो आप 50 साल पे रिटायर करोगे 92 लाख रुपीज से. 50 साल के बाद आपके पास 92 लाख रुपीज होंगे. 10,80,000 सिर्फ कमाए होंगे और बाकी सब आपके रिटर्न्स होंगे, एस्टिमेटेड रिटर्न्स. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. Yes, this, yeah, Dildar, do you have a question in this? You can talk.
No, means I want to say that it depends on the returns, depends on the funds, right? Like a
Yeah.
growth fund and a
No,
fund.
like usually returns in an SIP are constant. Like if you just go to bank, they can start an SIP for you. तो आप अगर बैंक में जाओगे वो आपको बेस्ट SIP देंगे आपके इनकम के लिए. अगर आप 3,000 कर सकते हो तो वो आपके लिए स्प्लिट करेंगे. फ्लेक्सी कैप में डालना है कि वो इधर डालना है, वो आपको नहीं देखना होता. वो बैंक खुद के करने देते हैं और उनका इंटरेस्ट वो उनका ब्रोकर फी लेते हैं 0.01%, 3,000 का. तो कितना रुपए? 3 रुपए से कम होता है हर महीना. सो अगर आप 3,000 रुपये डाल सकते हो हर महीने की, ये 2,000 भी कर सकते हैं हम. 2,000, 1,000, जितना भी. मैं अभी 3,000 लिया, मेरे को लगा 3,000 वो बीच का इनकम है उसलिए. ओके. सो लास्ट स्लाइड में हमने देखा हमारे पास 30 साल बाद 92 लाख रुपीज होंगे. 92,42,920 रुपीज. अगर अभी 30 साल बाद जब मैं 50 साल का, मतलब अभी आप 20 साल का उम्र मैं समझ रहा हूँ. सो व्हेन यू आर लाइक 50 years ओल्ड, यू विल स्टार्ट टेकिंग मनी, क्योंकि तभी आप काम नहीं कर पाओगे. तो अगर आप 50,000 रुपये हर महीने निकालो, तो भी आपके पास जब आप 80 years के होंगे तब आपके पास 2,25,00,000 रुपए होंगे. दिस इज द पावर ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग. अगर आप 50,000 रुपये हर महीने निकालो, 30 साल बाद जब आप 50 साल के हो, 30 साल के लिए, फिफ्थ जब आप 50 से 80 साल तक हो, वो आप निकालते रहोगे 50,000 रुपये हर महीने. तो आप कितना निकालोगे? 1,80,00,000. पर तो भी आपका जो 92 लाख है वो कंपाउंड होता रहेगा, और ये 1,80,00,000 निकालने के बाद भी आपके पास 2 करोड़ रहेगा. दैट इज द पावर ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग. अगर आप अभी से चालू करोगे तो आपको लॉन्ग रन में बहुत कमाएगा. और अभी, एंड इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स यू कैन पुट इट ऑन द इन द चैट बॉक्स. So this is a very strong tool, very powerful tool of compounding. And this is very important that you start from right now. अगर आप बात करो मेरे को 5 साल में इतना पैसा मिल जाएगा, वो नहीं होता. ये आपको सिर्फ 20 से 30 साल में इतना पैसा मिलेगा आपको. उसकी बात है। लाइक दिस, ये कंटिन्यूटी में करना पड़ेगा। 5 years आपको इतना रिटर्न नहीं मिलेगा बिकॉज वो कंपाउंडिंग नहीं हो पाएगा। एंड ये 12% एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न 8% लिया है, वो बेयर मिनिमम है, उससे चालू होता है। एफडी 7% देता है, एसआईपी 8% देता है। तो ये बहुत रिस्क फ्री भी होता है एंड बहुत यूजफुल भी होता है, पर इसके लिए बहुत ज्यादा टाइम चाहिए होता है। आपके डू यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस, देन यू कैन आस्क मी। जस्ट रेज योर हैंड और अनम्यूट। Next slide. Yeah, my friend will take over now. Thanks.
Yeah, so basically now we'll talk about what is an emergency fund. So basically emergency fund is money that you keep aside only for emergencies. So आपके कोई भी हेल्थ की इमरजेंसी है या फिर आपको किसी चीज़ के लिए पैसे चाहिए, तो और वो इमरजेंसी के टाइम पे, तो फिर इसके लिए इमरजेंसी फंड बनाया जाता है। ये आपके डे टू डे एक्सपेंस के लिए नहीं होता है। शॉपिंग, ट्रैवलिंग, फेस्टिवल्स, आप इससे ये नहीं कर सकते हो। ये सिर्फ तभी आपको मिलेगा जब आपके कोई इमरजेंसी होएगी। तो ये आपके एक फाइनेंशियल सेफ्टी नेट जैसे वर्क करता है। तो आप जो डे टू डे कमाते हो, इससे इसका कोई लेना देना नहीं है। आप ये पैसे बस साइड में रख दोगे और ये पैसे आपको तभी मिलेंगे जब आपके पास कोई इमरजेंसी होएगी। सो दिस इज मनी फॉर बैड डेज बेसिकली। सो इमरजेंसी मतलब कैसी टाइप की इमरजेंसीज, व्हाट काउंट्स एज एन इमरजेंसी। सो कोई भी हेल्थ इश्यूज हो घर में आपके या आपके परिवार वाले के, कोई एक्सीडेंट हो गया, जैसे गिग वर्कर्स में बहुत कॉमन होता है कि अगर कोई बाइक का एक्सीडेंट हो गया तो फिर उसके बाइक के रिपेयर के लिए पैसे चाहिए होते हैं, हॉस्पिटल के लिए पैसे चाहिए होते हैं, तो वो इमरजेंसी फंड से मिल जाते हैं। और जीरो इनकम डेज, जब आप काम नहीं कर सकते तो उसके लिए आपको पैसे चाहिए, तो वो भी मिल जाता है आपको। आपका फोन, लैपटॉप, अगर आप फ्रीलांसिंग करते हो, आपकी मतलब ऑनलाइन लोगों की हेल्प करते हो, तो उसमें आपका फोन, लैपटॉप वो टूट गया तो उसके लिए भी आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे। व्हीकल रिपेयर जैसे मैंने कहा, फैमिली इमरजेंसीज, उस सब के लिए आपको इमरजेंसी फंड से पैसे मिल जाएंगे। फिर इमरजेंसी फंड कितना चाहिए होता है, जो नॉर्मल जैसे आपकी एज के जो लोग होंगे उनको 3 मंथ्स का एक्सपेंस चाहिए होगा प्लान्ड आगे के लिए, कि अगर आज इमरजेंसी हुई तो अगले 3 महीने के लिए आप जितना भी पैसा कमाते हो वो आपके पास होना चाहिए। और ये गिग वर्कर्स के लिए, क्योंकि उनका थोड़ा रिस्क ज्यादा होता है, उनके एक्सीडेंट्स होने के ज्यादा चांसेस होते हैं, तो उनको 6 मंथ्स के एक्सपेंसेस तक होना चाहिए। और रिस्क ज्यादा है तो फिर आपके पास सेफ्टी बफर भी ज्यादा होना चाहिए, इमरजेंसी फंड में पैसे भी ज्यादा होने चाहिए। तने। हाँ, सो बेसिकली इसमें एक इमरजेंसी फंड कैलकुलेट कर रखा है। तो एक पर्सन है जिसकी इनकम कुछ कुछ होएगी, और उसके एक्सपेंसेस, रेंट 8,000 रुपीज है महीने का, फूड 4,000 रुपीज है, फोन और इंटरनेट 1,000 रुपीज है, और ट्रांसपोर्ट उसका 2,000 रुपीज का पर मंथ होता है। तो ये टोटल 15,000 रुपीज पर मंथ का उसका एक्सपेंस हो गया। तो अब अगर इसे अपना इमरजेंसी फंड बनाना हुआ, तो अगर इसको 3 महीने का बनाना है तो वो 15,000 जो अब मंथली एक्सपेंस है उसका, वो उसको 3 गुना कर देगा और वो 45,000 होके बैठता है। तो अगर आपके 15,000 के एक्सपेंस है पर महीने के, तो आपके इमरजेंसी फंड में 45,000 रुपीज होने चाहिए। और 6 मंथ्स के हिसाब से अगर आप गिग वर्क करो तो उसको आप इंटू 6 कर दोगे 15,000 से, और वो 90,000 रुपीज होता है। सो अब एक्सपेंस कैसे ट्रैक करते हैं वो आपको भावार्थ बताएगा।
Hello everyone. Now that we've learned what gig economy is, what are its advantages, disadvantages, how to save your money and how to invest it, and also how to start your own business, it's time we learn some of the important economic and accounting terms which will help you become a better entrepreneur. So first of all, talking about tracking your expenses is very significant as you need to know where your money is going, where you're spending it. So distribution of your expenses is important since you might overlook some expenses if you are not calculating them, if you're not noting them down. So you need to have a clear view of where your money is going and who is receiving it. And you also need to differentiate between which money is related to the operations of your business and which is not. So if some kind of expense is related to your personal needs, you should not note it down in the books of your business, right? So also this gives a clear view how much you need to earn so that you actually gain a profit. If the amount of money you're earning and spending is the same, so there's no profit margin left for you, which leaves you with no money and you are at break even. So now let's see why this is crucial for us. First of all, as we've already learned previously, that income is variable. Gig economy is part of the unorganized sector, so there's no job security and the income fluctuates. You'll have good months, bad months. So according to that जितना भी आपने काम करा है उसके हिसाब से आपकी इनकम ऊपर नीचे होती रहेगी. Some incomes are overlooked, so they are hidden, so it's quite hard to spot them. That's why it's suggested that you note all of these expenses down, and also that they avoid any extra spending. If you do not have enough money to spend on these needs, then uh, the books that you have maintained, the accounts that you have maintained will help you realize however what amount of money you will be able to spend. Next slide, please. Okay, so how to decide the price of the product you are selling to the audience? Most of the people think that the price is determined by how much effort you're putting into this service or product and how hard are you working. But in the long run, this isn't going to be very beneficial for you since it depends on revenue expenditure. Now, this is an accounting term which means that the cost incurred to gain revenue, which means to gain income, आपने कितने पैसे खर्च करे हैं कि आपको उतना ही पैसा profit लगा के वापस मिल पाए. So the formula is given over here that profit is the price of the product sold minus all the costs involved for that product. And we have a very beautiful quote over here which says, if you don't decide your price wisely, your work will decide your stress. So if you haven't put a proper price on your product, if you have underpriced it, that barely would leave you with a profit margin suitable for you. And then in the long run, it will become a burden for you and life will become stressful. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about demand and supply. So these are the most important terms in economics, and it will be quite beneficial if you learn them if you want to become a good entrepreneur. So demand is the quantity of a commodity that a consumer is willing to buy at various prices at different periods in the market. Or in simpler words, you could also say that it's the number of people that desire your service. The second term, supply. So before I talk about supply, there's another term called stock, and people use these two words interchangeably. So if anybody wants to tell me the difference between stock and supply, I would be glad to hear that. Could also write it down in the chat box. Yes, please answer, Lakshmi.
So basically, stock is the like we inventory which we have that or exact product which we have in the warehouse for the supply, and supply is exact product which we sell to the retailer or wholesaler for the selling purpose.
Yeah, that's correct. Dildar, I think you also wanted to say something.
No, answer was similar. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's the thing. So stock is the inventory, which means the total amount of products you have in your godown, which you can sell in the market. But supply means the amount of products that you're willing to sell. Now, the word willing is quite crucial over here because supply is determined by the price of the product. If the price is high, you would want to sell more so that you get more profit. So that increases the supply. You would want to take out more units from your godown and take them into the market. And similarly, if the price is down, you would want to sell lesser because for the same amount of units you are earning less amount of money. So yeah, both of your answers were correct, and I think we have an answer in the chat box also. Yeah, Mansi, that's correct. Okay, so how does this understanding these terms help us? So when your business is thriving, it will help you how to sell your product, how to earn more. And when you're having a rough phase, it will also tell you how to survive and how to remain sustainable. We also have an example of a mehndi artist over here. So for example, if a wedding season is going on, obviously the demand for these mehndi artists would increase, right? So they would also buy more raw material, those mehndi cones you have seen, right? They would buy more of that because they know they would have more customers for, asking for mehndi. So according to the season, the amount of money they spend, the revenue expenditure, which we learned earlier, that also changes. Higher demand, which means higher value. Next slide. Okay, what happens when supply is high? When supply is high, it is obvious that there are many competitors around you, many rivals which are selling the same product or service at the same price. So, if let's say there are five people and one of them is selling the product at a lower price, obviously the audience will shift towards that seller because they are getting the same product for a lesser price. So, in that case, the prices will go down because everybody won't be able to survive if this continues, right? So how can you stand out in such a situation? If your prices are a bit higher than the other seller, what you can do is you can improve the quality so that people know you're actually asking more higher prices for a good reason. You could also give faster service, and an example of this related to gig economy is the apps like Zepto and Blinkit. The services we receive our deliveries between 10 to 15 minutes, even if they're asking for delivery fees. So this increases the convenience for consumers. They don't have to step outside their houses and they're getting groceries delivered at their doorsteps. Good behavior. You could improve your interactions with customers. You could ask for feedback. What could you do better? So that uh, makes a relationship between you and the customer, which will be everlasting. And for the coming years, maybe they'll keep coming to you since they know that you listen to their problems and improve your services. Specialization means you focus on one area. If you focus on many, I mean, if you focus on one area, your product will look good in comparison to the other products. For example, if another product is not focusing properly and it's kind of divided its attention between all aspects, so that makes the product kind of average. So maybe they would look forward to buying the service or product from you. Next slide. So we were talking about expenses earlier. So now let's talk about the two main types of expenses, fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed cost, as the name suggests, these expenses stay the same no matter what. If even if you're having a rough phase or your business is earning a lot of profits, these expenses will stay the same and you do not have control over them. So you do not have the power to change them. But in case of variable costs, this depends on how your business is doing. If your business is going through a rough phase, you could decrease these costs and uh, change them according to your suitability. Next slide. We have a example over here where there's a baker and we're talking about the different fixed cost and variable costs. So in fixed cost, oven, internet, phone. If we talk about oven is kind of a machinery. So if you buy it once, you won't keep buying it for the upcoming months, right? It's a non-current asset which will provide its benefits for many years. And similarly, for the other examples given over here, you don't have the power to change the cost of these expenses. So these remain the same. And in variable costs, you would notice that these are the raw materials for the business. Raw materials means the things you're using to make your product. Flour, sugar, butter, all of these things are used to make cakes and pastries. So if your business, for example, let's say we are near the new year, so I think more people would like to buy cakes and pastries from bakeries, so they would know the demand has increased, and for the same reason they would increase the amount of raw material they have and would buy more of these. So they would increase the costs for buying all of these ingredients, and so that they could match the demand in the market. Now I'll give a question to you. If you have a clothing store, what would be your fixed cost and variable cost? You can write them down in the chat box. Yeah, good answer, good answer. By clothes, you can say fabrics or fibers because clothes is the output you're giving, right? We are talking about the raw materials needed. So, for in the case of clothes, our what do you say? Variable costs would be the raw materials in the form of fibers and fabrics. But yeah, your answer is mostly correct. So if all others want to answer, you can answer as well. And with that, we conclude our session. If anybody has any questions, we are glad to answer them.
If you don't want to say it in the if you don't want to speak, then you can put it in the meeting chat. You can make a private message also. Any doubts, anything that you're still curious about.
So if there are no doubts, can we end the session?
Okay, miss.
Perfect.
Thank you for having us here and letting us speak. Um, okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the great session.